Hello, traders. Today I am joined by an early user of the AIFO prop trading platform who has shown great consistency and resilience in his trading. And so I'm delighted to introduce Cam Darlington, a Canadian trader who's quite recently received his first payout and has been in the industry now for, I think, just over 3 years. So welcome, Cam. Thank you very much for joining me for this interview.
Thank you for having me, Frederick. I'm really excited. I've been trying out AIFO. This is the first prop trading platform that I've signed up for. And my journey so far has been quite encouraging. I kind of been trading more actively for the last 3 years. Ever since I started working in the financial industry, specifically on trading platforms,
Yeah.
I wanted to get more into different types of trading. And of course, getting all the way to day trading is my end goal right now, that I've set for like a project for myself. I want to get used to day trading on a regular basis and being able to turn a profit quite consistently.
Yeah, it's a super exciting industry, and there are so many people just out there who really feel like they want to get into trading, but they don't really know how. And that's why we brought AIFO out to offer a fantastic community and to offer quite a lot of educational support, as well as, of course, taking the challenges and giving you guys the accounts. But yeah, we so how did you originally get into trading? What was your calling to get into the space?
So I've been in the financial industry for about 10 years. My background is in financial accounting, and I worked in accounting firms for a while. So up in Calgary. And then I pivoted over because, accounting's quite boring, to working on trading platforms. And, you know, as someone who has homegrown in the fundamental analysis,
Mm.
the, getting onto it, getting into the business of, setting up trading platforms, optimizing the experience for users, I needed to, get to know what the life of a trader is like. And, I went to school, and you're always taught in school, fundamental analysis is where it's at. Technical trading is kind of like witchcraft. So, but these are usually said by people who haven't actually gone into it. And if you want to really know what the true experience is like, you have to do it for yourself.
Yeah.
And so 3 years ago, I started trading more, and I started with taking more like weekly positions, so position trading and swing trading. And this is where I started, rather than go right into day trading because I'm still working full time.
Mm.
This being able to look at long-term trends or medium-term trends and taking positions and trades. This is a lot more stress-free. So I'm looking at gold, Bitcoin, and the euro dollar, and I'm looking for more like week-long trends, macro trends. And this last year has been a really interesting experience because this is the year that gold really, really blew up, and Bitcoin has then completely reversed from tracking the S&P 500, which is still quite high. Bitcoin is at this, come down recently in the last few months significantly. It's halved in value from 125. So that was kind of where I started. And then recently in the last 6 months, I got more into day trading. And part of that is because of AIFO, actually. Uh, about 6 months ago is when I decided to really commit, and getting the intention to work on something like this, like from swing trading to day trading and committing the time. You got to set a frame. You can't just say, okay, I'll get to it eventually. You have to say, okay, this year or this 6 month period, I'm going to do this. And then that's like your personal growth project for the year, right? So I started with AIFO, and I started with the challenges that you guys have set up. And it was hard. It was really hard,
Yeah.
actually, because the first two times that I tried the AIFO challenges, I failed. and I failed for totally different reasons
Yeah.
that I didn't expect. So the first reason was it gets pretty it gets pretty emotional, and the psychology of being a day trader where you have to close out your positions, whereas for swing traders or position traders, you put a stop loss way further up or down, you have a lot more range you can take. But if you want to do day trading, you have to be able to know when to take a loss and at the right time, and say, okay, I'm going to close out here, didn't work, try again. Whereas you want to accept that emotionally, and then don't get into another trade right away. Take a break.
That's
Take a break,
something that
reset.
that's something that I'm always struggling with, right? Is, once I'm in a trade and I see my stop loss get hit, I'm thinking, oh, this must be a reversal. And then I'm just jumping into another trade to try and catch or try and get back the capital that I lost. And then it all just becomes a spiral. And I just start to enter trades and then it reverses and I lose money and the accounts are blown every single time. So yeah, no, I couldn't agree with you more. Yeah, it's very
Yeah.
difficult, very, very difficult to keep your emotions when trading.
Keep jotting down these rules so that you're learning, and try to stick by them so that you're not just winging every single decision. And this way I was able to, on the second try, get a lot closer, but I'm still getting a lot more losses than I was profitable trades. So I was squeaking out profitable trades, but then when I lost, I was still losing too much. So I didn't end up passing the challenge on the second attempt,
Yeah.
which is really disappointing.
Yeah, no, it's risk management is just so important. You'd be surprised the amount of traders who I know who don't use a stop loss. Although to be fair, some of those traders are quite professional, and as you know, market fluctuates, so aggressively, especially around economic events, and a lot of people get stopped out when they shouldn't have done because the trade was good, the technical analysis was good, but there was some economic news or activity that just stops you out and then it reverses back and your trade actually plays out. And that's happened so many times to me. But I do know quite a lot of traders who actually don't trade with a stop loss just because they're trying to avoid that specific issue. But of course, you should always trade with a stop loss. For a lot of the beginners out there, people who are just getting into the market. I mean, it's just absolutely so important to manage, do risk management. So Cam, I gotta ask, what have been the biggest hurdles that you have come across when getting into trading?
So the biggest hurdle is where to get started. And I like to think of it as a pyramid, but you have to start on the top and work your way down. So you need a very narrow scope. You need to focus on just a few assets that you really like to trade and are interested in. Don't go for something that you are not interested in. So for me, I was interested in Bitcoin and gold, and usually professional traders don't like to trade Bitcoin as much because there's so many amateur traders that it doesn't follow common patterns, and day traders kind of can get frustrated with the volatility and the unpredictability. But I find it very interesting and I like to follow it. So I've been following these assets on a daily basis. I learn where the resistance levels and support levels are, where there's like really strong bases of liquidity. So if we see like it punch through Bitcoin, punch under 85,000, then it's going to have a lot of it's either going to slice right through it and start heading down further, or it's going to reverse and start trending up. These assets are really interesting. And then work your way into the more traditional trading assets. So you're looking at indexes or Forex. If you're going to do the euro dollar, it's not as obvious where the market is. You really need to take your time to understand those more traditional day trading assets, whereas ones that are a little bit easier to get into, like gold and Bitcoin, you can follow a lot more closely. And since I still work full time and I'm trading in my spare time, uh, being able to, trade these assets 24/7, or when it's more convenient for me, rather than, let's say, the euro dollar, which will have the highest liquidity during the day, if you're working. Uh, so you don't have the time to, take an
Yeah.
hour to
What
watch the
session?
market open.
Yeah. What sessions are you trading at the moment? Is it the New York or the London sessions?
I'm usually trading the London session,
The London session. Yeah.
because for Canadians, right, it's if you need to do it when you're not at work, but
Yeah.
you want to trade at some point.
Yeah.
Uh, so it's a bit challenging,
Yeah.
actually, to find the time. But if you want to get into trying some of these strategies out, you need to be there for when these markets opens. That's when the liquidity is there. That's when you're going to see significant reversals,
Mhm.
and you're going to also have news break leading up to the opens usually. So,
Mhm.
this is really important. So I would say take it really easy at the beginning. Don't put too much pressure on yourself
Mhm.
to like know everything right away. Focus on a few assets that you like, that you find fascinating, and try out some strategies on these assets. Then work your way down the funnel into broaden your scope, look at more different types of assets, and see what you're also interested in.
Yeah.
So
That's really,
that's
yeah.
what I recommend people to
Yeah.
do.
That's
And
it.
it has it's not a quick thing. Like it's not going to be 2 weeks and then you're a master of trading. This is going to be a several year long process.
Mm.
So take the pressure, put it aside, and just pursue it out of interest
Yeah,
first.
that's really good advice. I mean, like there are some asset classes I would always push toward. I usually the community would resort to the most popular types of asset classes. Ones I've not found to be that popular among our community is stocks and indices, but the futures, so future micro contract futures, yeah, this is a huge interest for a lot of traders. So I think that's it's fantastic advice. You really got to find. So I'm exclusively a forex trader, right? I love trading the forex, and even more exclusively on the British pound. you know,
Mm.
once you find that asset class that you're very comfortable with trading, you get a good understanding of what's happening, especially for forex trading, the macroeconomic level. So the fundamentals of that asset class. Once you get familiar with that, once you get familiar with the opening sessions, it becomes sort of second nature when you dive into the charts and you apply your strategy and you know what's happening. And that's when it becomes really fun, right? It becomes really fun because you start to think, oh, this is about to happen, that might happen. I've got to break a structure here. I'm gonna enter into a position there. So yeah, it's really good advice. Yeah. So you came to AIFO as quite a newbie to the prop space, but I'm also aware that you did take a look at other prop trading companies as well. So what's your experience been like with us, and why did you choose us?
So prop from the research I did, because I wanted to make this like my part of a project for 6 months, is really get into trading, and prop trading challenges is a really great way to take it more seriously, because of course I can trade here and there with my own funds, but actually being able to go through the steps to get funded, get an account, that makes it like it's a bit more high stakes. Put some consequence on the table, and you need a lot of motivation to really get into trading. So there's a lot of prop trading firms out there, but because of the nature of the business is that most traders, they're getting into it, it is very difficult. And, people are quick to judge the platform or the prop trading firm they're with rather than their own strategy and trades. So with IFO, it's a brand new platform, and I'm, very early in joining. So I get to test it out for myself, which is great because, of course, there's other prop trading firms that do have negative feedback from a lot of people who have not been able to succeed in the challenges. But AIFO is just brand new to the block, and everything is very, very professional. And the communication from AIFO directly as soon as I joined has been fantastic. So they're following up with me, making sure that I understand as a first-time prop trader how I'm going to work through these challenges. And so the asset classes that I've been focusing on of gold and crypto and forex with the euro dollar, these are all available on AIFO, and which is nice because not all prop trading firms really want to include like Bitcoin, even though the narrative around Bitcoin is that it has reached an institutional place now where it's so large that you have to include it as part of your portfolio. So as traders, it's really nice that we have these very different types of assets available on AIFO. So that being said, it was not easy. I already mentioned in your earlier question that this, it took me 3 attempts to go through, and the support I got along the way from AIFO after the first and second attempts, you guys are sending me emailers out, thank you for trying, giving it your best go, but you didn't succeed. But here are some resources that I can take a look at to continue my journey and continue this project. So this has been really helpful, rather than the platform itself being like, okay, well, you're clearly not a good trader. You guys have a much better kind of understanding of what it is to be like a human trader first time in this space. So I'm getting resources sent to me on a regular basis that I can check out, read through. Yeah. And then when I feel comfortable, it's not like I'm being sent an email that's like, hey, you can try again in the next 3 days, blah, blah, blah. It's like, take your time. Yeah. Come try again when you're ready. And so, it took me a bit over 5 months to pass on the third attempt. It was well worth it to go through it with AIFO. I think I'm very happy with the experience, and I got my first payout. So my first payout was around $4,700, a little bit more actually. Yeah. So if I said, hey, learning how to trade over several years and then doing the 6-month project to make $4,700 and change, is that like a great payoff? Yeah. It's like, not yet, right? But I'm really excited that it could be more in the future, and that's where I'm kind of at now. So I got a good starting place, and I want to keep going.
Yeah, those are an interesting statistic I came across a while ago, where the average successful prop trader usually spends around $400 to $500 on challenges, taking the challenges before getting their first payout. And their first payout exceeds, I think, 2,000 or 3,000 on average, something like that. So it's kind of like you get a really nice ROI, right? Because you go through all of those steps, all of those weeks or months of trading. So you get all of that knowledge. And then, although you spend quite a bit of money on failed challenges, when you finally pass and you get that first payout, it all comes back to you. And then you still have that account to trade. So that means, on a monthly basis, you're easily able to withdraw way more than what you would put in to take those challenges on a monthly basis. So it's really good. Yeah. So I know you've covered in fact you've offered so much incredible advice to the community already, but is there anything that you might have missed, or any other bit of advice, especially to new traders over in Canada, especially because you're over in Canada, being a Canadian trader? So is there any advice that you could give to our friends over in Canada who want to get into the trading and prop firm space?
So
put you on the spot there, didn't I?
Yeah. I think for people in Canada, we're very close to the United States, so we follow typically U.S. markets very closely. So I would start off small and get to know the U.S. market. and look at some of the more popular traded assets that open during the New York session. That's what I would go for, and give it a go,
Give it a go.
because
Yeah.
you have
Yeah.
yeah, you have to start somewhere, and so start with what you're most familiar with.
It's really, really good advice. Hopefully you'll join me for a live session one day so we can actually trade together. I exclusively trade the London live session, although I do dabble in the New York session. But here at AIFO, we have other trainers who will be doing the live sessions for New York. But yeah, it'll be great to bring you on and we can actually trade live together, have a live discussion in the future. But wonderful. Great news about getting your first payout. Super happy, very, very pleased about that. We want nothing but our traders to become profitable. We want nothing more than you guys to get these payouts and grow together, right? And grow together and grow in the community together. So thank you so much for coming on today and having this interview with me. I hope I'll see you around the community chats quite a lot more. But thank you very much for coming on today.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. Thank you for the invitation. And it's certainly not what I expected, to both for my personal growth through this journey with AIFO, but also with you guys being there and doing these kinds of things with us along the way. I mean, it's been really nice, and it's much appreciated.
Great. Happy to hear. Thank you. Thank you again. Thank you for coming on.